Admiral James Blake stood tall on the bridge of the UES Defender, Earth's largest warship. His gray eyes fixed on the main screen where dozens of alien ships had just appeared near the edge of the solar system. The ships were like nothing humans had ever built, smooth, curved, and glowing with strange lights. They were at least 10 times bigger than Earth's largest vessels. "Report," Blake ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. Lieutenant Ross tapped on her screen rapidly. "Sir, we count 57 warships. Their energy readings are off the charts. They're massive, sir." Blake nodded. Humanity had prepared for this day. After discovering faster-than-light travel just 20 years ago, they knew they would eventually meet other intelligent life. They just didn't expect the first meeting to look like an invasion. "They're broadcasting something, sir," Communications Officer Patel said. "It's coming through on all channels, all frequencies. They've figured out our communication systems." "Put it on screen," Blake ordered. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had smooth blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its mouth moved in an unsettling way that didn't match the words. "People of Earth, I am High Commander Torvak of the Ascendancy. Your planet is now within the boundaries of our galactic empire. We have conquered 217 species before you. All have benefited from our rule. Your surrender will be accepted immediately. Resistance will be met with force." The bridge fell silent. Blake's jaw tightened. He had spent his life defending Earth, and he wasn't about to surrender to the first aliens who showed up with big ships. "Open a channel," he said. Patel nodded. "Channel open, sir. They'll hear you." Blake looked directly at the alien commander. "High Commander Torvak, I am Admiral James Blake of the United Earth Defense Force. We have no quarrel with the Ascendancy, but we will not surrender our planet or our freedom. We offer peaceful relations instead." Torvak's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Admiral Blake, perhaps you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The Ascendancy requires your world's resources and your people's labor. Your species will serve a purpose in our great empire." Blake had read enough history to know what happened when technologically advanced civilizations met less advanced ones with valuable resources. It never ended well for the less advanced. "Commander Torvak, before you make your next decision, I feel it's my duty to warn you about something," Blake said carefully. "Warn me." Torvak seemed amused. "Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are few. What possible warning could you offer the Ascendancy?" "A simple one," Blake replied. "Humans have been fighting wars against each other for our entire history. We've perfected killing each other for thousands of years. We've created weapons that can destroy our own planet. We've fought over land, resources, ideas, and sometimes for no reason at all." Torvak's expression didn't change. Blake continued, "We don't want war with you, but if you force us to fight, you should know this. Humans have never lost a war when our survival was truly at stake. So my warning is simple. Reconsider, for your own sake." A strange sound came through the speakers. It took Blake a moment to realize Torvak was laughing. "How entertaining," Torvak said. "Every species believes they are special until they meet the Ascendancy. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships. Your history of fighting each other only proves your barbaric nature and need for proper guidance." Torvak leaned closer to whatever was recording him. "You have 30 Earth days to prepare for integration. Use this time wisely to prepare your leaders for the transfer of power." The transmission cut off. The bridge remained silent until Blake turned to his officers. "Send a message to all Earth governments," he said. "Tell them we have 30 days to prepare, not for surrender, but for the first interstellar war in human history." He looked back at the screen showing the alien fleet. "They should have taken my advice and run." Dr. Marcus Reeve adjusted his tie as the alien ship landed on the dark side of Earth's moon. As Earth's top diplomat, he had been chosen to meet with the Ascendancy's Imperial Council. The ship was huge and gleaming, with strange patterns etched into its metal skin that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. "Remember the plan," General Martinez said through his earpiece. "Show them our history. Make them understand what they're starting." Reed nodded and stepped forward as the ship's ramp extended. Two tall guards with blue skin and heavy armor emerged first, holding weapons that looked like spears but hummed with energy. Behind them walked three more aliens in flowing robes with complex patterns. Reed recognized High Commander Torvak from the transmissions in the center. "Welcome to our solar system," Reed said with a slight bow. "I am Dr. Marcus Reed, Ambassador for Earth." Torvak looked down at Reed. "Your hospitality is unnecessary. We are here to discuss the terms of your integration, nothing more." Reed kept his face neutral. "Before we discuss terms, the people of Earth have prepared information we believe is important for your council to review." He held out a small device. One of the robed aliens took it with a four-fingered hand. "This contains historical records of human conflict through the ages," Reed explained. "We believe it's important for you to understand who you're dealing with." The alien device scanned Earth's technology, then projected images into the air between them. Scenes of human warfare played out. Ancient battles with swords and shields, world wars with tanks and planes, modern conflicts with drones and missiles. "As you can see," Reed said, "humans have fought over 15,000 recorded wars in our history. We've created weapons specifically designed to kill other humans. When we couldn't kill enough with swords, we invented guns. When guns weren't enough, we created bombs. When regular bombs weren't enough, we split the atom." The images showed mushroom clouds rising over cities. "Primitive," one of the robed aliens said dismissively. "We mastered atomic energy thousands of years ago." "Perhaps," Reed replied. "But did your species use it as a weapon first? Did you point your most advanced technology at yourselves before pointing it at the stars?" That silenced them briefly. "We've developed chemical weapons, biological weapons, and psychological warfare," Reed continued as more images appeared. "We've created autonomous killing machines and orbital weapons platforms, and all of this was to use against other humans, our own species." Torvak waved a hand dismissively. "You show us these images to frighten us. The Ascendancy has weapons that could turn your planet to dust. Your most advanced technology is laughable compared to ours." Reed nodded. "Our technology may be behind yours, but I'm not showing you our weapons to impress you with their power. I'm showing you to help you understand our mindset. No species in your empire has our history of conflict. We've been forged through thousands of years of war." He pointed to a final series of images. Humans rebuilding after conflicts, working together, rising from ruins. When truly threatened, humans unite. We've never lost a war when our survival was at stake. This isn't a boast. It's a warning. The Imperial Council members looked at each other. Then Torvak stepped forward. "Your history only proves you need the Ascendancy's guidance. Your tendency toward violence makes you unpredictable and dangerous. Integration will proceed as planned." The other council members nodded in agreement. Reed's shoulders slumped slightly. He had failed. "You have 25 Earth days remaining," Torvak said. "Use them to prepare your people for their new role in our empire." As Reed was escorted back to his shuttle, he sent a simple message to Earth. They didn't listen. "Prepare for war." Back on the Ascendancy ship, one of the younger council members approached Torvak. "Should we perhaps send more ships? These humans seem different." Torvak laughed. "Different? Yes, they're more primitive and more violent than most. But like all primitives, they will break when they see our true power. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. What threat could one planet of hairless mammals possibly pose to the Ascendancy?" General Lydia Martinez stood in the underground war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, military leaders from every major nation on Earth gathered around a large table with a holographic display showing Earth and the alien fleet. "We have 20 days left," Martinez said, her voice echoing in the concrete chamber. 20 days to prepare for a war unlike any we fought before." The room was silent. These men and women had once been enemies, commanding armies that faced each other across borders. Now they sat together, planning humanity's defense. The Chinese Space Force can provide 200 orbital fighters, General Wang said, pointing to the display. They are small, but fast. Russia has converted our missile silos to house anti-spacecraft weapons, General Petrov added. We can target their ships if they enter low orbit. One by one, each nation offered what they could. For the first time in human history, there were no secrets between military powers. No hidden weapons or classified technology. Every resource was on the table. It won't be enough, Admiral Blake said from a screen on the wall. He was still on the UES Defender, watching the alien fleet. Their ships outclass ours in every way. Their weapons could glass our cities from orbit. Martinez nodded, which is why we won't fight them directly. Not at first. She touched the display, zooming in on Earth. We evacuate all major cities, move our people underground and into the mountains, make them think we're cowering in fear while we prepare our response. What response? Someone asked. We can't match their technology. Martinez smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. We have something they don't expect. Dr. Wilson, please explain. A thin man with glasses stepped forward. We've been analyzing the signals from their ships. Their technology is advanced, but it follows patterns we can understand. They rely heavily on central command structures and predictable tactics. They've never faced an enemy that fights the way humans do. He showed diagrams of the alien ships. They expect us to attack them head-on, to throw our military at them in a desperate last stand. That's what every other species has done. So we won't do that. Instead, Martinez continued, we let them land. We let them think they've won. And then we show them something they've never seen before. Guerrilla warfare on a global scale. Thousands of miles away, High Commander Torvak studied reports about Earth. The information was disappointing. Their largest ships are barely armed, he told his officers. Their nuclear weapons are primitive. Their ground forces use projectile weapons and light armor. But they have many soldiers, one officer noted. Nearly 10 million in active military service across their planet. Torvak dismissed this with a wave. Numbers mean nothing against our technology. Their bullets cannot penetrate our battle armor. Their aircraft cannot match our atmospheric fighters. This will be as simple as all other integrations. He looked at an image of Earth. Such a blue planet, with so much water and valuable minerals. The humans would make good workers once they understood their place. Begin standard invasion preparations, he ordered. We will target their military bases and government centers first, then their power infrastructure. When they have no electricity and no leadership, they will surrender quickly. The officer hesitated. Sir, what about the humans' warning? About their history of warfare? Torvak laughed. Every species thinks they are special. Every species believes they can resist. None have succeeded. He turned back to the viewport, watching Earth grow larger as they moved closer. In 20 days, we will add another primitive world to our glorious empire. And these humans will learn what all others have learned. Resistance against the ascendancy is futile. Back on Earth, underground factories worked day and night. Scientists adapted alien technology from crashed scout ships. Soldiers trained for a new kind of war. And humanity prepared to teach the Ascendancy a lesson about underestimating their newest enemy. The day the Ascendancy attacked Earth was surprisingly quiet. Their ships entered the atmosphere with a soft rumble rather than the deafening roar humans expected from movies. 500 alien vessels descended toward major military bases around the world. Commander Ryan Foster watched from a hidden bunker in what used to be Fort Bragg. The military base appeared normal from above. Buildings standing, vehicles parked in neat rows. But no humans remained there, only empty structures and remotely controlled decoys. They're taking the bait, Foster said into his radio. All units hold position. The alien ships fired brilliant blue energy beams at the base. Buildings exploded into dust. Vehicles melted into puddles of metal. The destruction was total and precise. Command confirmed strikes at all major military installations worldwide. His radio operator reported. The aliens are following the exact pattern we predicted. Foster nodded. The Ascendancy's battle plans were rigid and predictable, exactly what General Martinez had counted on. Execute Operation Ghost, Foster ordered. Across the globe, hidden missile batteries activated, not targeting the alien ships that would be expected. Instead, they fired at the alien landing zones before troops could disembark. The missiles contained a special payload, not explosives, but billions of microscopic robots designed to infiltrate alien technology. High Commander Torvak watched with satisfaction as his ships reported successful strikes on all primary targets. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Land troops and secure these areas. His tactical officer looked confused. Sir, we're detecting unusual missile launches from unexpected locations. They don't match any of the military bases on our target list. The humans are disorganized. Torvak dismissed. Target these new launch sites and destroy them. Sir, the missiles aren't targeting our ships. They're targeting our designated landing zones. Now Torvak was interested. What kind of primitive strategy is this? Before his officer could answer, reports began flooding in. Landing craft were experiencing system failures. Communications became garbled. Navigation systems showed incorrect coordinates. What is happening? Torvak demanded. On the ground, Foster's forces moved. Small teams of soldiers wearing advanced camouflage suits that bent light around them approached the confused alien troops. They had trained for this moment for weeks. Their weapons were modified to penetrate alien armor at its weakest points. They didn't attack in large formations. Instead, they struck in groups of 5 or 6, hitting quickly and then disappearing into the landscape. The aliens, used to facing enemies in traditional battle lines, struggled to respond to enemies they couldn't see or predict. Sir, Foster's communications officer said, all teams report successful engagements. Alien forces are responding with standard search patterns, just as we expected. Foster nodded. Activate Phase 2. Across the battlefield, human soldiers retreated, leaving behind small devices that emitted heat and radio signatures matching human vital signs. The aliens, reading these signatures on their scanners, concentrated their fire on empty locations, while the real human forces circled behind them. On his command ship, Torvak watched in growing horror as reports of ground force losses mounted. Impossible, he muttered. Their weapons are primitive. Their tactics make no sense. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Sir, we've lost contact with the entire 3rd Landing Division. That's over 5,000 troops. Send in the 4th Division as reinforcement, Torvak ordered. Sir, the officer said hesitantly, I recommend we pull back and reassess. These humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They're not following any known battle doctrine. Torvak slammed his fist on his command console. We are the Ascendancy. We do not retreat from primitives. But as more reports came in of ships being disabled by invisible attackers and ground forces being ambushed by enemies that seemed to appear from nowhere, a cold feeling grew in Torvak's stomach. For the first time in his long military career, he faced something unexpected. The humans had warned him to run. He was beginning to wonder if he should have listened. 1 month after the first attack, High Commander Torvak stood before the Imperial Council via hologram. His once proud posture was now stiff with tension. We have lost 37 ships and nearly 20,000 troops, he reported. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Such losses were unheard of in the Ascendancy's long history of conquest. How is this possible? Asked Elder Merak, the oldest council member. They are a single planet of primitives. Torvak's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress. These humans, they do not fight like other species. They avoid direct confrontation. They strike from hiding, then disappear. They target our communication systems first, then attack isolated units. Then send more ships, another council member suggested. Overwhelm them with numbers. Torvak nodded. I have already requested 1/3 of the Imperial fleet. We will burn their cities to ash if necessary. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Dr. Lisa Roy examined a captured alien weapon. Around her, dozens of scientists worked on different pieces of alien technology. Have you figured it out yet? General Martinez asked, entering the lab. Roy nodded. Their energy weapons use a form of plasma contained in a magnetic field. Advanced, but not magical. We've already adapted the technology to work with our power systems. She pointed to a row of modified human weapons. They looked like standard rifles, but glowed with blue light along their barrels. How many can we produce? Martins asked. With the factories running day and night, 10,000 per day. Not enough to equip all our forces, but enough for our special units. Martinez smiled grimly. Good. What about their ship technology? Roy led her to another section of the lab where engineers worked on a small alien craft. Their navigation systems are vulnerable to our hacking techniques. Their armor is strong against energy weapons, but surprisingly weak against certain frequencies of sound. We're developing sonic disruptors now. And their communication technology. Already reversed. We can listen to their transmissions, and they don't even know it. In orbit around Earth, Torvak watched as hundreds of new ascendancy ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. The fleet was massive, representing a significant portion of the Empire's military might. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. Target their largest cities first. The ships moved into position, weapons charging. But before they could fire, alarms blared across the command deck. Sir, an officer called out. We're detecting energy signatures from the surface. Hundreds of them, rising fast. Torvak rushed to the viewport just in time to see swarms of small craft rising from Earth. They were clearly human-made, but moved with the speed and precision of ascendancy fighters. Impossible, he whispered. They couldn't have developed such technology so quickly. The human ships didn't attack directly. Instead, they released clouds of tiny objects that attached to the hulls of the alien vessels. Suddenly, ship after ship reported system failures, weapons shutdowns, and navigation errors. They've adapted our technology, Torvak realized with horror. They've studied our weaknesses. On the ground, human forces advanced against confused alien troops. Soldiers wearing powered armor based on alien designs moved alongside tanks modified with alien technology. What had been a one-sided technological advantage was now a desperate fight against an enemy that learned and adapted with terrifying speed. In her command center, General Martinez received reports of victories across the globe. We've pushed them back from every major landing zone, her aide reported. Their remaining forces are retreating to their ships. Martinez nodded. And now for Phase 3. Prepare the orbital platforms. Hidden satellites, hastily constructed with adapted alien technology, activated around Earth. They weren't weapons platforms. They were broadcasting stations. Every alien ship and soldier received the same message, translated into their language. You should have run when we warned you, but it's not too late to stop this war. Retreat now, or learn why humans have never lost a war when our survival was at stake. Captain Thomas Wilson stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, a ship that hadn't existed 3 months ago. Built using reverse-engineered alien technology combined with human ingenuity, it was the first of Earth's new fleet, and the spearhead of humanity's counterattack. All systems ready, Captain, his first officer reported. The fleet is in position. Wilson nodded, looking at the tactical display. 20 ships, not large by ascendancy standards, but fast and equipped with technology the aliens wouldn't expect humans to possess. Begin the jump, he ordered. The stars blurred as the human fleet entered faster-than-light travel, using the very technology the ascendancy had brought to Earth's doorstep. Their destination, Outpost Krell, an ascendancy military base that supplied the invasion fleet. On the ascendancy homeworld, The Imperial Council gathered in emergency session. The holographic displays showed something unprecedented. Human ships approaching Ascendancy territory. "This cannot be happening," Elder Merak said, his voice shaking. "They are supposed to be defending their world, not attacking ours." High Commander Torvak, his once pristine uniform now worn and his face lined with stress, faced the Council's anger. "The humans have surpassed our expectations," he admitted. "They've adapted our technology and combined it with their own in ways we didn't predict. You assured us this would be a simple conquest," another council member shouted. "Now they threaten our own territories." Torvak bowed his head. "They fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't follow the rules of war as we understand them." "What do you mean?" Elder Merak demanded. "Other species we've conquered fight for honor or territory. They surrender when defeat is certain to preserve their people. Humans." Torvak paused, searching for words. "Humans fight harder when their situation becomes more desperate. They accept casualties that would break the will of other races, and they adapt our weapons to use against us." At Outpost Krell, alarms sounded as human ships appeared from faster-than-light travel. The Ascendancy defenders were caught completely unprepared. They had never imagined that the primitives from Earth would bring the fight to them. Captain Wilson's voice echoed through the communication systems of every Ascendancy ship and the outpost itself. "Attention Ascendancy forces, we gave you a warning, which you ignored. Now we offer you a choice. Surrender this outpost or face the consequences. You have 10 minutes to decide." The outpost commander, a decorated Ascendancy veteran, laughed at the message. "Surrender to primitives? Never." But his laughter died as his sensors showed the human ships deploying unusual devices around the outpost. They weren't weapons. At least, not any weapons the Ascendancy recognized. When the 10 minutes expired, the devices activated. Instead of destroying the outpost, they broadcast images, scenes from Earth showing Ascendancy forces being defeated, captured alien technology being adapted by humans, and the devastating counterattacks that had driven the invaders from Earth. The final image showed a simple message translated into the Ascendancy language. "We warned you to run. Now you understand why." The psychological impact was immediate. The Ascendancy had never experienced defeat. Their soldiers had never considered the possibility of losing. As they watched humans, creatures they had dismissed as primitive, systematically dismantle their supposedly superior forces, panic spread through the ranks. When Captain Wilson ordered his ships to begin precision strikes against the outpost's defensive systems, the response was unexpected. A surrender signal. Within hours, Earth's forces had control of Outpost Krell without destroying it. Human soldiers walked the halls of an Ascendancy facility, collecting valuable intelligence and technology. Wilson sent a message back to Earth. "First objective secured. The Ascendancy is beginning to understand who they're dealing with." Across the stars, on dozens of Ascendancy worlds, the news spread quickly. The undefeated Empire had finally met its match in a species that should have been easy to conquer, a species that had given a simple warning: run. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Empire knew fear. 6 months after the first alien ships appeared in Earth's sky, Dr. Marcus Reed stood once again before the Imperial Council. This time, he was not on the moon, but in the Grand Hall of the Ascendancy's capital world. The massive room, with its high ceilings and strange alien architecture, was designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. But Reed stood tall, representing a humanity that had proven itself anything but insignificant. "The terms are simple," Reed said, placing a data tablet on the large table. "The Ascendancy will recognize Earth and all human colonies as sovereign and independent. A buffer zone will be established between our territories. Any aggression against human worlds will be met with immediate response." Elder Merak, now leading the council after several members had been removed from power, looked at the human with a mixture of fear and respect. "You could demand more," Merak said carefully. Your forces now control 12 of our outposts. Your ships have proven capable of striking deep into our territory." Reed nodded. "We could demand more. We could continue this war until the ascendancy falls. But that was never our goal." "What was your goal then?" asked Marak. "To be left alone. To explore the stars on our own terms. We never wanted war with you. We simply refused to be conquered." The council members looked at each other, still struggling to understand these strange humans. In all their history of conquest, they had never encountered a species that fought so fiercely yet demanded so little in victory. "We accept your terms," Merrick said finally. "The war between our peoples is over." As the peace treaty was finalized, High Commander Torvak sat in a human detention facility. Once the leader of the Ascendancy's greatest fleet, he was now a prisoner of war. The cell was comfortable but secure, with fields that prevented any escape attempt. The door opened, and Admiral Blake walked in. Torvak recognized him immediately, the human who had first warned him to run. "You've come to gloat?" Torvak asked bitterly. Blake shook his head. "I've come to inform you that peace has been declared. You and the other prisoners will be returned to your people." Torvak's 4 eyes widened in surprise. "Returned, not kept as hostages." "That's not our way," Blake said simply. Torvak stared at the human, trying to understand. "You defeat us, and then you show mercy. After all we did." Blake sat down across from the alien commander. "I have a question for you, Torvak. One thing I've wanted to ask since this all began." "What question?" Torvak asked cautiously. "Why did you not heed our warning? We told you what would happen. We warned you to run." Torvak was silent for a long moment. In all our history, no species had ever warned us. They either surrendered or fought and lost. "Your warning. We thought it was fear disguised as bravery." Blake nodded slowly. "And now? Now I understand. You warned us because you knew what would happen. You knew the cost of war better than we did." "We've had more practice," Blake said grimly. "Thousands of years of fighting each other taught us what war truly means. That's why we warned you." "Will your people join the wider galactic community now?" Torvak asked. Blake smiled slightly. "Slowly, on our terms. There's a lot we can learn from other civilizations, and perhaps a few things we can teach." As Blake left, Torvak called after him. "One last question, Admiral. If we had heeded your warning and run, what would you have done?" Blake turned back. "We would have built our ships, secured our system, and eventually reached out to establish peaceful contact. The same thing we're doing now, just with fewer scars on both sides." Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. The mighty Ascendancy had signed a peace treaty with a single world of primitives. The humans had done what no species had ever accomplished. They had fought the Galactic Empire and won. And throughout the stars, a simple message became known to all spacefaring races. If humans warn you to run, you should listen.